Okay, it is August 14th, 2023, here on top of Buzzard Rock in Front Royal, Virginia. I'm just going to read something I wrote here on the top of Buzzard Rock. Start from the top. This is called Reparent. Major cravings as well as anxiety this morning. I am a parent to a highly traumatized and confused, scared, and abused child. This child named Brandon is in need for a loving, affectionate, honest, real, and safe caretaker who can also be a role model. A caretaker that provides a safe space for this child to feel and express openly without judgment and criticism. One who brings about ease to Brandon's pain, as well as an efficient solution to Brandon's issues. One who can guide Brandon back to wholeness and fulfillment. Little Brandon is with me always. Everywhere I go, he is there. He is a part of me, so whatever he is going through, so am I. Brandon was raised by highly traumatized, abused, and egotistic parents. Parents who as well were clueless and immature. These parents did meet his physical needs, though his needs being superficial to that deeper necessities. He went through physical abuse, but the physical abuse was nothing compared to the betrayal and confusion he went through. He is still here, dealing with high anxiety, confliction within his own thoughts and intuition, hypocrisy with his words and actions, as well as a state of being an empty void, though not so empty as it is filled with grief, heartache, fear, and resentment. All these things which makes him feel empty, worthless, suicidal, and a loss of hope. Brandon no longer sees nor can he believe a way out of this, as he has been stuck in this muck for many years, day in and day out, feeling this intense burden, which has now become his personality. Brandon, whose natural essence is pure, highly empathetic, and majorly joyful, as well as being beautifully creative, is in need for someone who can remind him of his true nature. This is where I come in. Why me? Because I know Brandon better than anyone else. I care for his well-being more than anybody else. As he is a part of me, I can connect with him deeper and more authentically than anybody else, which is the type of support he needs to recover and flourish. There will be no rush nor expectations for the duration of his healing. The power of honesty and authentic empathy, including a safe space, will bring about a healing transformation regardless of the pace. All he needs is an ear, a hug, and a calm, reassuring voice. Brandon needs this, and so do I, for direction, growth, clarity, and confidence. This is listed number 1 on the priority list, as it is the most critical before placing attention on anything or anybody else. Curiously, courageously, and wholeheartedly taking on this task for the importance of creating a home for the inner child to feel safe in, the spirit to reside in, and the true self to express effortlessly. Yeah, guys, so doing this work is, each day I see how more and more and more important it is to really focus and hammer down on. Because if we are not healing our emotional baggage or cognitive dissonance in our programming, that is what's running our lives. People say they choose where they're at in life right now. They choose the job they're working at. They choose the area they're living in. They choose the clothes they wear. But is that truly them? How can you ever say that you're the one choosing if if since you were born you've been operating out of a survival instinct. Since you were born, you've created a survival character called the ego, who is a character of many alters, of many identities, of many roles, of many masks, that thrives to make you feel safe in an inhumane environment. You know, you do not have to be physically or sexually abused, touched, or messed with in order to be traumatized. Like I said in that passage, I had my physical needs met, but that is totally superficial to the deeper necessities, which are the emotional needs. You know, as a baby, we have two choices: to be our authentic selves or to please our masters, to please our attachment. And as a baby, you need an attachment as you are in a helpless little body. Though you are pure, highly empathetic, and highly intelligent as a baby who is fully embodying their consciousness and spirit, it's 100% pure. But just with the whole birthing process and being already separated by your caretakers, and then, you know, your caretakers being agents of the state, and then throwing at 5 years old, 6 years old, throwing you into an education system which was developed to make obedient and compliant workers, factory workers, you know. So the first 5-7 years of our life from birth are the most formidable years in our life. You know, we are a literal sponge. And because as a child our need is human interaction, human connection. We need that feeling of an attachment. You know, we need to know that we are safe, or that we are loved, that we are getting attention, that we are getting affection, that we are seen, heard, and valued. And as a baby, you know, we express ourselves authentically, crying, um, moving around, you know, doing all these things. But our parents, who are just highly stressed, highly worried. I mean, you know, think about it. You got to pay bills every 30 days of the year, every 30 days. And every day you're striving to make sure everything is falling into place, and that you have a roof over your head and food in the fridge and clothes on your body, and you're not getting chased by the IRS. And I mean, and making sure, you know, and you got all these bills. I mean, it's not like you only have 5 bills as a parent. It's not like you only have 5 bills as a homeowner. You got numerous bills. And that's not, I mean, you got your subscriptions, even if you're into that. You got your car payment, you got your house payment or your rent, you got multiple things, utilities, all of that. And so, you know, as a baby, because of our high empathy and because of how connected to spirit we are, we are connected deeply with our parents, connected deeply on an energetic level with our parents. So what I'm saying is, your parents may, as a baby, was always a goo goo gaga, laughing in your face type deal, but deep down you could see through that. You know, you could feel where they were at emotionally. They could say what the fuck ever they wanted, but you as a baby could feel where they were at emotionally with themselves. And you and us as a baby, we took on all their stressor, we took on all their worries, we took on all of that, especially put on top when you're crying. And because, see, as a baby you're taught human separation. One, on how to sleep by yourself, which is being put in a separate room and you cry for 5 hours until you finally pass out from exhaustion. That's one example of the human separation we learn. Also, with all the gadgets and toys and distractions our parents put in front of us because they need their alone time. They need space. They can't, so, and that shows that they should have never even had a kid in the first place, because a baby, if you were to place its mom or a toy in front of it, it would instantly choose it would instantly choose the mother. It craves human interaction. It craves that human attention. A baby learns the most, more than anything else, by its human interactions. And if the human interaction is toxic, and which toxic, I mean, the parents are, like I said, stressed, under constant stress, under constant worry, under constant anxiety, the baby takes on all of that. And plus, those parents are probably reacting to that baby in a way that shows that baby not to be their authentic self, you know, not being allowed to express their emotions, not because as soon as they start expressing their emotions, they throw vice on us, a baby binky, a toy, a TV, food. I mean, they just love forcing food down the baby's mouth all day long. And and so we get taught how to cope with all these stressors at a young age. We get taught also, because we see when we are our authentic self, that it upsets our attachment, and we do not want to upset our attachment. That's part of our empathy as babies. We would rather please our attachment than be our authentic selves. That way we can continue receiving that love, continue being heard, continue being seen, continue being valued, continue getting that attention and that affection, you know. And that's why babies act out. That's why so many children act out, because they see the only way they get their parents' attention is when they act out. And so that's what I'm saying. As the ego, we create this ego, this survival character, this character of many identities, alters, copes, in order to survive. And and so we are acting out of ego ever since, as a baby, as a child, all the way up to, I mean, until we're conscious of it, until we're conscious and taking action to rewire that programming, and heal that inner child, heal that emotional baggage and that cognitive dissonance. Until we do that, we're just acting out of ego. We're just acting out of survival. We're just playing our character. And so that's what I mean, is how can you say you're choosing? How can you say you're living authentically? How can you say you're living intentionally if all you're doing is living from the ego? That's not your true self. Your ego is a personality, which a personality is always changing based on your growth. It's always changing based on your growth, based on your experiences. But your true essence, the true you, is unchanging. That essence is pure consciousness. When you take the personality, the ego out of the way, then you just got spirit. Then you just got your unique, sovereign, authentic consciousness, embodied by this avatar, embodied by this flesh. And that is the normal operation. That is the normal functioning, is this avatar fully embodying that spirit. And you can say you're doing all these good deeds and feel that you are operating out of spirit, but you're not. You're operating humanly. You're operating humanly, but until you heal all your cognitive dissonance, until you heal all your inner child, until you heal all your childhood trauma and your emotional baggage, you are not operating from spirit. You may be thinking humanly, you may be thinking morally, but in acting so, but if you're not detaching from all the acquired habits, um if you're not healing mentally and emotionally and physically, as well as getting because it's not just addiction to uh, physical stuff. It's also behavioral. Are you still chasing a status? Are you still chasing? Are you still reliant on validation outside of you to let you know that what you're doing is meaningful and right? Do you not have trust within yourself? Do you not trust your own ideas and your thoughts and your actions? You know, um, so there's a lot that goes on with this, and people will be like, "Oh, well, it's impossible to fully heal." No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is not impossible to fully heal. And even if it were impossible, I would rather be on this path than living a lie, than living a fantasy, than living an illusion, than living from my ego. I would rather be striving towards living as authentically as possible, even if I could never reach my full authenticity, than not. Because then what's the meaning? All that keeps us alive is the next thing we are looking forward to consuming, you know, the next virtue signal. Even the need to know that you help somebody because it makes you feel good that you were able to teach somebody something. You know, you need to feel good even without doing that. You need there's so much that goes into, I can go deeper and deeper, but I'm just I didn't even expect to go this long. But yeah. So just know, yeah, you can be acting humanely, you can be acting morally, but you are not fully embodying your spirit. Your spirit will not come into a body that is totally fucked up by programs. Because if you're still anxious, dealing with anxiety, if you can't sit still for 5 minutes, for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes and not be content, if you feel like you always have to have something to look forward to each week, each month, each year, if you have to have something to work towards each month to give you a reason to live, then you are not operating from spirit. You are not embodying your spirit. You are not embodying your true self. You know, um, yeah, because when we're embodying that, we're just doing, we're just being. We're not planning. We're not expecting. We're not looking forward to anything because we are totally fulfilled and complete right here, right now. And everything we do is humane, is right, is morally, because it's all coming from the highest state of being, which is the highest act. And the highest act is always going to be good. And yeah, you know, yeah, just a little food for thought. And I'm on this path. No way in hell am I saying I'm healed, but I'm fucking aware and I'm fucking honest. And that's the biggest thing, is being aware and honest and not being egotistic, saying, "Oh, well, I'm already healed. Oh, I'm already embodying the spirit and this and that because I do this and that." No, man, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. So get your ego out the fucking way, man. And yeah, I'm just, because I was like that too. At a point, I thought I was so far in my healing and this and that, and that I knew so much, and man, it was all ego. It was all ego. I realized, now really tapping into this childhood work and just the mental and the emotional work, there, because I still have dependencies. I still reach for things. I see it during my fasting. I still have anxiety to do something, to occupy myself, to I get the feeling of lack. I get the feeling of emptiness. I get the feeling. So if you're still getting those feelings, that is not you are not embodying the spirit, because the spirit is all knowing. The spirit is fully, when you're embodying your true self and your spirit, there is no second guessing. There is no confliction of thoughts and intuition. There is no hypocrisy with your words and action. There is no anxiety, because you are fully embodying that essence that is creative, imaginative, fully confident, and intuitive, and you know trusting and knowing. So when you're embodying that, there is no room for all that bullshit, for all that unnecessary burden of these these feelings we deal with every day that we think are that we think are natural and are for our growth and everything. You know, it's much deeper than that. It's much deeper than that. We are these feelings we deal with every day of anxiety and worry and stress and lack and emptiness, and you know, that is not something we're supposed to be feeling, but we feel it in this society because this society is dysfunctional. This society is emotionally immature. This society requires unnecessary demands for us to just live, for us to just be. You know, this society has brought its infliction onto the family system, which this family system is why I call our parents agents of the state, because our parents are following and believing in this system. So they raise their child based on the regulations of this system. You know, so it's straight up abuse from our parents, and then our parents throw us into the education system, which is more or less an indoctrination center, which was built by Rockefeller, who created factories that needed factory workers, and nobody back in those days wanted to work in factories because they saw it as wage slave. They saw the payment as wage slavery, and just who the fuck would even want to spend all day working in a factory anyways. So he found how to start the compulsory education system was by Prussia's curriculum, which Prussia's curriculum was to have kids by the age of 14 be highly obedient, highly compliant, and uh, patriotic citizens to go out into war, to be soldiers. That was what their curriculum was to make highly obedient, highly compliant, no questions asked, highly patriotic kids, so that by the age 14 they would go and fight for their country. And literally Rockefeller found that and used that and made it mandatory and compulsory for uh, for America, for America. And our parents, who are literally a pair that rents because they sign off on the birth certificate, they sign their child off to the state, now turning the child into a corporation, into the government's hands, which now makes the parents no longer the owners. It just makes them a pair that rents the kid until they're 18. Um, so so these parents have to follow the regulations, you know. Um, and if they don't, their child gets taken away and they get thrown in jail for not following the rules. And so we, you know, so we are totally bombarded with superfluous and unnecessary things since childhood, since being raised, since being born, I mean. And that is how we're living from an ego who is a survival character. We are living in survival. We are reacting in survival. We are behaving by a survival character. We are reacting instinctively in survival. We have lost trust in ourselves. We have lost confidence in ourselves. We have lost the knowing of our true essence, which has led us to a world of confusion, has led us to major confusion, major dissonance in the brain, major. And so we just become people pleasers. We search for validation. We are dependent on everything outside of us. We are no longer sovereign. We are no longer independent. You know, and I'm not saying that we don't need anybody. You know, human interaction, human connection is great. It's great. And it's not that you have to be dependent on that. But yeah. Yeah, so it runs deep, guys. It runs really deep. And the reason why this is so that we can keep this dysfunctional, inhumane system rolling, you know, to keep, I mean, we are literally turned into consumerist pigs. We are turned into just highly dependent consumerist pigs, useful idiots grinding the gears of this machine to keep going. Useful idiots like a job as an electrician who goes and shuts people's powers off during the summer because they can't pay their bills, not knowing who's even in that house, knowing that there's families, single mothers with 5 kids, and just goes and carelessly, mindlessly turns off their electric. Right there, what happens? All their food goes bad that's in the fridge. Doesn't have electric to keep the fridge cold. Doesn't have electric to keep the freezer cold. Doesn't have electric to keep the house cold. Doesn't have electric to keep the AC going, or even the heat going in the winter. And, so that's a useful fucking idiot. These electricians who go around and turning off people's fucking power, turning off people's water, turning off people, who, a grandma could be in there who who just missed their bill for the day. It's just so mindless and fucked up. The bunch of useful idiots grinding the gears, not grinding, oiling, lubricating the gears to run smoothly, to keep this machine, to keep this inhumane machine rolling and just fucking going. A machine that does not need to be ran at all. So, yeah. And there's a lot of useful idiot fucking jobs out there. Trust me. A lot of fucking jobs that are just completely useless and meaningless, that are just to continue the consumption. And yeah, we are we are so we are highly addicted to external resources outside of us. We are just fucking gluttonous consumers, stuffing our faces, stuffing our minds with complete superfluous bullshit, unnecessary bullshit, poison, toxins. Anything that is more than sufficient is superfluous, is bullshit. And that is what our society is, a bunch of superfluous bullshit that we've been taught that we need, that we are dependent on, that is now an acquired habit because we've been fed that we needed that since we were a baby, because daily our parents shoved it in our fucking face. Like I said, our parents are useful idiots too, being agents of the state, breeding slaves into this system.